Why do you think that'd be a good topic for our first podcast?
Discussing money. Everyone loves talking about money. Who doesn't love talking about money?
The money of what?
The money of, well, production costs for one. So the videos we do for Paragraphic and, well, I guess mainly Paragraphic, we'll start there, but it's done in our free time. So anything we, I don't know, can put into it, whether it's weekends, late nights, stuff like that. But with YouTube, it's very difficult to make money, especially if you're trying to monetize with not very consistent output, especially nowadays when the algorithm kind of rewards people who publish very, very frequently.
I think a lot of people would look at a channel with, 250,000 subscribers and go, oh,
they must be raking it
must
in.
be making all this money. And then you look at the financial analytics for any one video, and most of them earn $10, $20, $50 if you're lucky. Now,
Right.
yeah, granted, if the algorithm picks it up and you get millions of views, that can be lucrative. But on average, like, you have to be hitting those numbers every single day of the week for it to even make any sense financially to do it as a full-time thing.
I feel like something I've been thinking about recently is like the saturation, right? So like, what is 1 million views now versus what it was maybe 10 years ago, right? Because 10 years ago, that was viral. That was the most viral thing you could do, right?
1 million views.
1 million views. And then all of a sudden, Psy came out with his Gangnam Style video, right? And then all of a sudden it was like 1 billion views. That's more than 1 million, but what does that equal, like financially, especially if you're trying to monetize? But for a channel that, well, for most channels, people who want to make money, it's like they very quickly realize like, oh, it's about the output, especially nowadays. But then you're competing with everyone else who's also jumping on YouTube, also putting, videos, and then now with stories. So like you're competing against its own app, right? So
stories and shorts.
And shorts, and of course every other platform, but specifically with YouTube, if you're going to try to make money specifically on that app, then it's very difficult unless you're very consistent.
It's one of the things that I know. I'm glad that you wanted to do similar stuff to me, as far as just like, let's just make high quality content. We both like documentaries. Let's film without clients. Let's film for ourselves. Let's put it out there and just see how it does, just for fun, just for the love of it. And
that's good practice too.
Yeah. And it's been cool to see content do really well and go viral. But it's also, the unfortunate side of things that, like, the effort that it takes to do a production, it's the situation where you were kind of describing. YouTube incentivizes individual creators to make content every single day.
Right.
Because when you have a platform that's built on, you can upload however much you want, whenever you want, as much as you want. There are really no limits. There's no restrictions on YouTube as far as how much you can do. And the best scenario for anyone who wants to get into YouTube is to just be an individual who makes content every single day. Make more than one video a day, and you will make the most money on YouTube. But that's at the detriment of anyone who wants to work like we do, where it's like we want to do one video a month.
A good video.
A good
quality. Granted, I know it's all, obviously everyone has their own opinion, right? But good quality to us is just the fundamentals. Is it in focus, right? Is it the right white balance? Is it like all these factors that we think, makes a good quality video? But in order to do that, it takes a lot of time.
And it's going to a place, interviewing real people, doing real interesting stuff, different stuff every time. Because
a different topic every single time.
That's the other thing about YouTube. It'd be to our advantage to just make aquaponics videos, because the aquaponics video is the one that got 8 million views now. Yeah. And so YouTube thinks like, oh, there's an aquaponics channel, and we're like, no, we want to do paramotors, we want to do a naturalist, we want to do camper vans,
which especially we found what we find interesting. Turns out other people find interesting as well. So. And it's never in, we always do it in a very unique light. I don't know, the way we do our videos, I think it's non-traditional because it doesn't necessarily have like like beating you over the head with a very specific agenda. It's just like, no, this is just interesting. We're going to give you information. We're going to have, scenes built with, in the video, but it's all like authentic. It's like, we're not putting words into their mouths. They're just telling us, their story, and then we're just making a really cool video. But like I said, without an agenda.
That's something that I think is lost on some people when they comment like, this is the wrong way to do it, or why are you promoting this, or this is bad. And what's interesting is that the way I approach our content is not to say that this is good or bad or right or wrong. It's just a way to do something. So there was like the cattle feedlot, and there's people who are like, oh, this is great. Corn feds, awesome, tastes better. And there's other people like, oh, this is really bad. You shouldn't be doing that. And it's just to shine a light and say, this is a way that something is done. Same thing with the cryptocurrency video. When we did the crypto mine, it's like, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
You can agree with it or disagree with it, but we're not taking a side.
But it's interesting.
We're just saying you should know this is how it's done, rather than a video that says, oh, this is great because of these reasons, or this is bad because of these reasons. So I feel like that's a little lost. Anytime you make a video or make something about anything, it's almost like you're signing off on it, saying like, this is good, but we're just really just being like, hey, here's a story.
Especially when it's like we've done certain videos, we've done the topic over and over again, but it's always completely different, Like the
homestead off-grid type stuff?
Well, that and the cannabis videos.
Oh, yeah.
So we've done literally caregiver in their own home, but then we've also done large-scale, huge facility, like a warehouse. So it's different perspectives, right? It's like, what's your story? And then you learn about Steve and his, like, personal story of why he grows cannabis. And then you go to the other side, and it's just like, well, talking about just like an occupation, right? Someone wasn't happy with their job, so they were like, how can I make my, life better by making same thing, right? It's like in that he was like doing landscaping, right? So it's like landscaping, then it's like, all right, I'm unfulfilled here, but I want to tie my love for landscaping into my love of cannabis. And then all of a sudden you have this huge business, but in contrast, you look at like the home grow and you're like, oh wow, completely different reasons for doing it, but producing the same product.
And now we have one coming out, not out yet, on the business of cannabis, which is also done a little different in how we filmed it. So yeah, trying to tackle similar themes, similar topics. It's always that through line of people who are passionate about what they're doing. They might be doing it for different reasons. That what they're doing might be very different. But the through line is individuals who are kind of taking charge of their own life. And that's what I feel like we're trying to do with our content as well. It's like we want to own what we do, the art, the craft of it, as opposed to just doing work for clients where, okay, we're just servicing them and their needs, but we're sitting there going like, wouldn't it be cool to see a documentary about, sourdough bread, and it never gets made because no one does it because there's no financial incentive to do that.
And that's the kicker, right? There's no financial incentive, but also it's like for a company, obviously they need marketing material, which is great, but is it only for commercial purposes? Like, are you just going to take that 30 seconds and then run that same 30-second ad? It's like, you can do that, but especially nowadays when it's so easy to do like social media, and then you want to be, top of mind kind of thing. So it's like the more content you do produce, the better, obviously everyone gets to see you. But something I was talking about with one of our other production friends in town is, so he makes content for them regularly, right? On a retainer basis, high quality stuff. The issue that he ran into most recently is the company was like, well, we want to produce more content, but we can't exactly afford or wait for, high quality stuff. So we're just going to start putting stuff out on our phones, like, recording. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but especially if you're trying to establish like a high quality brand, like you don't necessarily want to mix those two, especially if you have like an ideal marketing strategy of like, this is how our clients perceive us. Like, this is why we do things at a high quality, because we expect that, return, that acknowledgement, the perceived value, right, of somebody looking at your business and be like, wow, everything's buttoned up, looks great. Of course, I'm going to, invest with this company or whatever it is. But if you start seeing iPhone footage, you're like, oh, what happened? Like, what's going on, guys? Like, did you lose funding? What happened?
Yeah, and there's something to be said for authenticity and the speed of just making content, but it definitely sends a different message.
It's all relative, right? But it's all completely different based on like how you want to be perceived, right? So
yeah, and I think that Paragraphic and that channel stands out because we kind of went outside the rules, so to speak, of like, here's what we'll perform, which is like daily uploads, do as much as you can, just be an individual personality, make it about you. It's on YouTube, it's all about you. And it's like, we're going to shine the light on these other people, and we're going to do it very infrequently, and people look at it and go like, this should be on Netflix, or this is such high quality. And that's us intentionally saying, like, we're not going to follow the trend and do what's lucrative and what's successful. We're going to actually go outside the lines and just do what we love. And hopefully that will work out.
Well, it's interesting talking to companies, especially when you are going to do like any kind of marketing for them, because it's that struggle of like they're professionals in whatever business they're doing, which is great. We are professionals, or whoever does production. It's like usually they would call themselves, professional, but ideally they're professionals in like their territory.
Like a baker.
Right? But it's like ideally that person would know more so about, best editing techniques for whatever platform they're going to be delivering their video, right? So it's like if it's TikTok, it needs to be quick cut, whatever. If it's YouTube, are you going to play into the long form algorithm? Like, what are you trying to do and what platform is it going to? So like those conversations, I feel, don't happen enough. And then you get companies that, end up going with whatever company, spending however much money, and then you end up with content that they don't exactly know how to use it, or, the proper way to use it, whatever it is, or like whatever they envisioned. It's like not exactly like, well, where is it going to live? Like, is it going to be on your own personal player? Is it going to be, whatever platform? But it's always a difficult conversation when like you're an expert in baking. Let me be an expert in, doing video. And then we
content,
can work together to produce, to get whatever you want, the views, whatever it is. But yeah, it gets difficult when like we're talking about how we do videos our way. It's like, yeah, because we know like visually, this will look better, maybe subjectively, but more objectively, right? It's like, we should really rent a space and not shoot here or whatever it is. It's like we have suggestions based on years of experience, whereas, typical companies just want to do it the easiest way. It's like, listen, I'm already spending some money. Let's just knock it out here.
Just make it work.
Just make it work, yeah.
Yeah.
But
so what's interesting is that because of the nature of platforms, video specifically, but photo as well is kind of lumped in there, but I feel like everything's going video with Reels, with TikTok, with YouTube Shorts. There's so many platforms, and they all have these kind of unspoken rules where you have your experts who might master it. So we've talked about, right, if you're an individual on YouTube and you can upload every single day, that's probably going to set you up the best chances for success. It won't guarantee you'll be success, but if you look at like Mr. Beast or a PewDiePie or anyone who's really big on YouTube, they usually got their start by making a lot of content, just frequently, just hitting it over and over and over again. And they're usually
not for the money either. It was
not for the money,
for
just
joy of
like let's make
content.
something, fun or something that I love and make it for the spectacle, and then they all grow. But it always starts with usually like one person, one creator, and making, quantity over quality. Yeah. And I feel like the social media platforms are going that same route, right? TikTok, it's like upload every day. Instagram, upload every day. YouTube Shorts, upload every day. The more, that's the unspoken rule of the platform. And what that leads to is people focusing on that, whether they're experts or not. Like you said, the people who just want content. So I'm just going to use my phone. It doesn't matter the quality. I just need my phone to do it because that's what gets me the speed.
Right.
And it's all a reflection. It's all a result of the unsaid rules of these platforms. And that's what I was thinking about 3 years ago, even before we started Paragraphic, this idea that there's all these factors, the multitude of reasons of why content is the way it is. Because I wondered, like, where's all the short filmmakers? Where's all the documentarians? Where's all these content creators that are looking more for quality? And the truth is there's no platform that actually rewards that. You can go to Hollywood and get rewarded for quality, visual quality, whether it's in motion graphics or cinematography. But if you want to be a content creator, quantity is rewarded. And so that's why I was like, all right, we need to build a new place. So we're going to do Paragraphic. We're going to make the content we love, which is these documentaries, but we need a place to put it. And so that's why I was like, let's start developing Multitude, which is what a multitude. That concept of, okay, it's a lot of creators that can operate with a new set of rules. So you can only upload once a week. Put some more thought into the content. Be intentional about what you're making. Give people room so that they're not competing. Like when we're doing a Paragraphic episode, we put it out there. Well, okay, that was good for that day. But then the next day, every other content creator has some new video. And we're sitting there waiting like, well, our next video comes out in like a month or two. And hopefully this one catches. And a lot of times they don't just because of the nature of the algorithm. And so it's like, okay, let's make a platform that's more friendly to people who want to create content like we do, that's much more intentional.
And consume content like that too.
Exactly.
Because, like I would love to consume content like the way we create content, but nobody makes content like that because well, more often than not, if anyone's creating content like that, that's very much like their full-time job anyway. So it's more like client work. I don't know anybody who's like doing kind of what we do, like just on the side, like making just fun, cool videos for themselves on the side, for an audience, but not necessarily for like a paid, client. I would love to know more if there's anyone out there.
I just think it's the nature of the paradigm we exist under for the last 10 years, with YouTube being the place where people can monetize content and it being rewarded for quantity.
Yeah.
It just shifts everyone of this mindset. Well, I'm going to vlog. I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to like this, right? This is much easier. We in our studio, in our controlled environment,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
hit a button and hit record versus, okay, let's find a person. Let's coordinate the shoot date. Let's travel to wherever they're at. Some of them have been out of state. Some of them have been 4 hours away in state. Setting it all up, editing it all. This just happens. This is just done. And so it's no wonder that everyone has shifted towards podcasts and vlogs and, React videos. No one is doing what we're doing because there's no good reason to do it.
Yeah, there's no good reason. That's the thing. It's like, if you want to learn something, of course you could YouTube it. Of course you can, right? But it's like we're doing like the next step further on that. It's like, maybe you do want to learn about alpacas. Are you going to watch just like the generic video that somebody popped up, like, I'm at the zoo, here's an alpaca, versus what is this video? It's a 20-minute video. Great thumbnail. Like, I'm just going to see what this is. All of a sudden you're hit with like a 2-minute trailer and you're like, maybe I want to learn about alpacas with with some popcorn now. All of a sudden it's just like an experience as opposed to just, which, I mean, a lot of people use YouTube just like as a search engine, right? Just to get quick information. How do I change my car battery?
Yeah, or the news, which is the other thing.
And then, no shortage of podcasters about the news.
Right. What's going on today? Because that's the feed, right?
It's easy.
What's happening today? Fruit. Okay, let's talk about it. What's happening the next day? Let's talk about it. What's happened the next day? Let's talk about it. It's the endless drip feed of content, and there's no one that's going like, let's ditch that and go do this other thing, because there's not a place to do it. So multitude is the new thing that we're kind of working on and building, and hopefully it's a place that other people can create the type of content we do. But yeah, there's no way that it makes any sense to do Paragraphic full time when we would spend a month, let's say, working on one video that earns, on a good day, $50 total for that video. It's like, are you gonna spend a month of two people spend a month of their time to earn $50?
1,000%.
The only way that works is if you love it. And then, the other part of the equation is like, okay, how do you make this make sense financially? All right, multitude, let's figure that out. So we can earn money, other people can earn money. Let's create products so we actually have something to sell, like Bokeh. So that's what Bokeh is. Bokeh is our supplement company, because that also, at the beginning of this year, we were kind of talking about it. It's like, we make great content and we're great at like marketing, but we don't have anything to sell.
Right. It's like we have a vehicle for other people to attach themselves to, and it's great when they do. It's just difficult when things don't necessarily align with the time of year. So it could be, oh, sorry, Q4, just, all of our budget's gone, but like, we'll hit you back in Q1 or whatever it is. It's like, well, this video publishes tomorrow, so.
Yeah, and you can do the sponsored thing. We could do the purple mattress or Squarespace, or what's another common one that everyone does, where it's like, check out this brand,
it's like so many MeUndies, any of the ones, but
some kind of VPN.
It just makes so much sense to do your own, right?
Well,
like,
I think
why not?
it's another business, is another venture that's hard to prop up. But instead of asking someone else like, hey, random company, pay us and we'll put you in this video, we've reached out to some companies that have been intentionally a part of the video. I mean, like, we'll feature you, but then you're still asking someone else to pay you for a video, and they're like, well, can you guarantee it's going to get 1 million views? And I'm like, no, I can't. No, like, I can't guarantee that at all.
What I can guarantee is that this is going to be a very high quality video that you can take and you can publish wherever. Like, you can take the clip or portion of where you are and then post it, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, somebody sees it and they're like, wait, you were in a documentary? What? Oh my God. On a channel that has 250,000, subscribers?
But why am I going to pay that when it only gets 10,000 views, right? Oh, I'm going to go just sponsor some random YouTuber that gets, 250,000 views every day.
Oh, you could do that too.
Right.
It's just a different version. Like, at least I haven't seen anyone doing what we're doing. So I don't want to say that we're the only ones doing it, but from what I've seen, we're the only ones doing it. So it's like, yeah, you could go to the, everyday YouTuber, but it's so saturated. That's why one of our recent sponsors told us, they were like, this is so unique. I'm a big fan of like this kind of just like new marketing tactics. Like, yeah, let's see what it's all about. And sure enough, that video ended up getting 200,000 views, and counting. So it was a very quick ROI, at least, for the spectacle, right? It's like 200,000 plus people at least saw your brand. Like, that's a lot of eyeballs. So it's like, is that what you're paying for?
But then to guarantee that every time, we have to make those relationships, and a lot of the times they're like, we'll want one, and it's like, all right, well, like, why don't we just have our own brand, our own thing that we can sponsor ourselves, be it Multitude or Boca. And then the other thing, with Multitude, and what occurred to me, the other factor is not just the quantity or versus quality argument, it's just the advertising policies of YouTube. So everything has to be advertiser friendly so that they can run ads on it. So you want to do something like mushrooms, even if it's not illegal, even if they're not psychedelic, it's still like,
but it still gets flagged.
This is not advertiser friendly. You want to do something like cannabis that's legal in many states. Other states it's illegal, and so YouTube's like, nope, demonetized. And that doesn't make any sense when you want to make high quality content, and it forces everyone on YouTube to play by those rules and be very brand safe, because that whole platform is driven by advertisers, where Multitude is more of a subscriber platform, much more like Netflix, where you have more freedom to do stuff that's legal, right? You can't do illegal stuff, but it doesn't have to be brand friendly. It doesn't have to be advertiser safe. And the whole complex of the world ecosystem, social media, all of it bundled up, when you look at it, you go, well, that's why the content's kind of broken. That's why we live in this world where everything's kind of messed up. Let's change the game a little bit. Let's keep doing what we love to do. Let's sponsor ourselves. Let's put the content in a place that makes a lot more sense financially for us and for other people, where they can upload content as well and make money. And changing those rules, because it's like playing a game where you, like, let's say, I don't know, trying to think of a good analogy, but it's you're like a great football player, and the only game that exists is basketball. You're like, well, I'm really good at like blocking, like I'm a lineman. And it's like, well, the only game that there is to play is basketball. Everyone plays basketball. And you're like, okay, well, like, but I'm really good at football. They're like, too bad that doesn't exist.
Right.
Doesn't it make sense to go start the NFL? Doesn't it make sense to go start your own game so you can play by a new set of rules, so where you can actually succeed and stand out, versus being like, oh, well, you're not good enough to play basketball.
Right.
Well, I'm not meant to play basketball. I want to go play football.
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, because, you can very clearly see, like, the NFL right now is almost too big, where, because there are no competitors really, it's kind of absurd how, like, they have all the money, right? And it's very, like, risky, because the bigger they are, the harder they fall, kind of thing. So it's like you have these players who demand, a certain amount of money, right? Because there is no competition, right? And it's like, well, if you have all the money, then I'm going to demand $500 million, because why? Like, you're making billions, so okay, give me my cut. But very interesting. It's like sriracha. Of course, everyone knows sriracha, right? So the guy who made sriracha, invented it, he purposefully did not trademark it or anything, because he was just like, I can't single-handedly make enough of this product for everyone to enjoy, so I'm just going to let anyone else make sriracha, go for it, because I'm already eating well. It's like, everyone feel free. Like,
sure,
just as long as you're making a product that everyone enjoys. But I feel like most people, like, that's lost on them.
A lot of people just want to know, what do I need to do to be successful? And then you give them the rules, the checklist of, here's how to be successful on YouTube, here's how to be successful on Instagram, here's how to be successful on TikTok. And they go, okay, I'll do that. And they check off. Meanwhile, they're not considering what they actually want to be doing. Is any of that going to bring you joy? Is that what you want to do? And then guess what? Now everyone else is following that same checklist, and everyone is creating the same type of content. And yeah, there's differences between personalities and whatnot, but like, there's a reason we're doing a podcast right now, is because that's another easy avenue for us to make content that fits more of like the mold of like what does kind of work.
Well, that's an interesting parallel, because like, when you look at podcasts have been around for decades at this point, right? They've been around, but being sponsored on a podcast wasn't necessarily a thing. It has been, right? Because people understand, obviously there's an audience, right? But it's different than radio. So it's like, obvious radio, everyone at least when they used to listen to things when it was live, it would be in the mornings or afternoons, right? It was very specific times, like peak hours, right? Prime time, or TV. It's like those commercials.
With radio, I'd imagine it's like rush hour, like traffic.
Right. Well, sorry. I was just saying prime time,
yeah.
like another version, right? It's like, yeah, you have rush hour, but then you also have prime time for TV. But those things were happening live. So obviously those commercial slots, a lot more valuable. But now you get into this world of podcasting where, I mean, the pandemic, right, very, very much accelerated the need for that kind of content, because it's just like everyone consumed so much content so quickly. That's just like, okay, I'm ready for something else. And then people were at home, so they started making more podcasts. And all of a sudden, everyone has a podcast, right?
Everyone.
But the cool thing was everyone started getting sponsors for podcasts. So it's interesting with Multitude, where it's like, okay, like think of it like a podcast, right? It's like in the very early beginnings of podcasts, no one was really getting sponsors because no one really understood that you could have, you know, substantial impact with your audience, you know, and a sponsor. But with Multitude, it's like, well, yeah, we're going to do similar thing, but it's going to be high quality video. And then people are going to go there because it's like, oh, okay, that's where we can go for high quality video and potentially, you know, sponsorships.
Yeah, no ads, and you make money off the platform itself. So with Multitude, I wanted to create basically what Netflix has, but instead of being Hollywood driven or production company driven, it's content creator driven. Me and you are perfectly capable enough of creating content that should exist on Netflix. People say so all the time in the comments. Yeah. They say this should be on Netflix. It's like, okay, well, if like one or two guys can do that, there's got to be more people out there like us.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're just
extremely talented for sure.
But there's no incentive for them. So let's create the platform where it's like, yeah, if you create content that people want to watch, put it here, and based on how well it does, you'll get paid just like you do on YouTube.
Yeah.
But instead of coming from advertisers, it comes from subscribers. And I feel like that fundamental difference is why Netflix can do whatever they want, because they're like, well, we've got, you know, a million. How many subscribers does Netflix have? It's like some crazy absurd amount, like a billion almost or something. They've got all these subscribers that are just paying every month. And so Netflix is like, great, we can do Stranger Things. We can do all these different shows that they want to invest in. But the problem with that is that it's all very one-dimensional from Netflix. So let's say you go to Netflix and you're like, hey, I think people would really like this show. And they're like, no, we already have something like that. Well, you just lost out. You might be great at what you do. It might be a really good idea. It could be the next Squid Game or Chef's Table or something, you know, that catches fire. And they just said no because they're the ones that call the shots. How about you make a platform more like YouTube, where it's content creator driven? It's basically survival of the fittest, but in a good way.
But also where you just want to have fun making good content in a community of people who make good content. Like,
what I mean by that is that it's it doesn't really matter how good or bad the content is if people want to watch it. And let the viewers decide what's good and what's bad. Right. And then incentivize people who are, hey, maybe I'm just one person, but I've got this great idea for a series of short films. We'll do that, put it in Multitude and see if people like it, compared to YouTube, where it's like, good luck standing out. There's no way. It's I mean, it's nearly impossible. We got pretty lucky.
You can do it.
You can.
It's just,
but it still doesn't make financial sense.
It's like, yeah, the odds are stacked heavily against you, basically.
Because you're competing with everybody else who's doing news, who's doing politics, who's doing React, who's doing live streams, who's doing Let's Plays, who's doing the constant bombardment of the lowest hanging fruit content, where it's, what can I do from my house, from my bedroom, from my home, and let me just stream my ideas out to the world. And yet it never evolves past that. Let's go tell a cool story about someone no one's ever seen before. With Paragraphic, and then people see it and they're like, wow, there's like a breath of fresh air. This is so great. This should be on Netflix.
That's what people say. That's what the comments say.
But there's nothing.
This is real. This is authentic.
There's nothing holding other people back from doing what we're doing, because there's other people who are talented. There's other people who have skills. There's just no incentive.
Right. And the time incentive. Yeah. It's like, why would you, when you could be home relaxing?
Right. And if I need to go pay my bills, I'll just go work for a client. And then it's like, well, now you're not really an artist. You're not a creator. You're just, you know, a service technician.
Right. And that's, button pusher, we would always say, right? Especially as an
I'm just
editor.
here to hold the camera.
Camera operator. Which, that's not fun. Like, one of the recent videos we were working on, it was the breakdancing competition. We went to Vegas, and during that competition they had a whole team from Korea filming a whole show. Oh my goodness. And it was maybe 12 cameras at least operated in like independently. So you had 12 cameramen with FX6s, whatever, the whole deal. But what I found was just So ironic was we were covering the same event with the 2 cameras, and it's like how much fun are we having versus how much fun are they having, because they have 12 people assigned a position, and it's like you're here for the entire event. You're just getting a close up of this judge. That's it, because the show needs it, right? They need to be able to cut to all these different angles when they absolutely need to cut to it to tell a great story. But for us, we're telling a story, but in a completely different, fashion, where we're getting our sound bites that we want, but then we're also like getting to go around and get whatever B-roll we want, which is the fun, right? It's like, as much as, I would love to have a gig in the first place, right? It's like, yeah, money's great. It's like, yeah, I'll do this job. But would you have more fulfillment just operating a camera from one angle the entire time, or doing what we're doing, which is doing the same thing? It's covering the same story. It's just we have a much better opportunity to be creative, to like exercise all these fundamentals, that we know. And then also, yeah, just on top of that being like, this looks cool. I'm going to, shoot this. But I don't know. It's the quality of life as a content creator. Like, what are you going to choose? What path are you going to choose? The client route or the independent route, which is a lot more, it's a lot scarier for sure. It's like, how are you going to fund yourself, right? But that's why currently we're doing this in our free time, because we need to pay the bills with other work. And then we're trying to build this on the side, which makes the regular day job even better. Because I was telling you, it's like we get so many like reps, just like the fundamentals of like lighting and everything. And of course, every video we do, we're in completely different conditions every single time, right? It's like we've filmed outside completely, entirely. We've filmed inside completely, entirely. We filmed in like these weird rooms that are like different colored lights. It's just like trying to figure out how exactly we're going to do it. But then now it's like we got to a point where we have enough equipment where, because we're reinvesting our money into this, thing that we're building. But now we have all the tools. In the past, it was like, oh man, I would love to have, this one light, this one, lighting modifier. But nowadays it's a lot easier to over the years, we've slowly built up the arsenal, but now it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that, this and the other, because we have the gear and then we know how to do it. And
we're like, we would love to have a podcast room one day. And so we made it.
So we built it. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm a lot happier because we've been doing this, like I said, because everything just becomes easier. So and once it's easy, it's fun.
The comments are really engaging and reinforcing.
Oh yeah, positive
reinforcement from people commenting. And I love that we sort of figured out a way for us to do this, certainly in our spare time. I want to bring it up to be a full-time thing, so that's why we're doing stuff like Bokeh, like coming up with a product that we can sell. Because I mean, if you bought, I think, lion's mane, like we'd make probably as much as we make off of like one whole video, just like one bottle, right? It's like, buy this instead of going on Amazon, and we'll earn more than we did on a whole video. So those kind of dynamics make a lot of sense. Patreon, setting up Patreon for people who want to see more of the behind the scenes, and they can help support the content.
And that's
building Place of Multitude, like doing all that for us. But then the big thing I want to look forward to the most is not just for ourselves when we can be doing it full time, but with Multitude, making a place where other people can be doing it full time as well. Because yes, you talked about the joy and the fun of we're in control. We have total creative freedom. I want to provide that to other people.
Oh, for sure.
So they're not feeling like, well, how am I going to get famous on YouTube? Oh, I guess I better be a live streamer. It's like, no. You could do exactly what we're doing and be just as successful because we kind of pave the way.
Yes. I think the challenge specifically for YouTube, especially when you're talking about like success, like what is success, and do you want to be in front of the camera? Like obviously we're currently in front of the camera, but this is more for people who really want to deep dive into like, what is paragraphic? Like, these videos are cool. You have behind the scenes content. Let me see.
Check it out.
So there's that, but
I could give this a really clickbaity title.
You could.
Something news and relevant.
Yeah.
Biden, Russia, Ukraine.
Keywords, anything.
Keyword, tag it up.
But it's that thing of, I don't know. It's like, where do you find the joy in doing it? If it's like, if you think that you have to be on camera, because especially with social media nowadays, it's like the easiest content to make is with yourself, right? Because you're the person. The issue is, do you want to be on camera? Or like for me, for instance, I'm much better behind the camera, right? It's like operating the camera like with my vision of like, oh, I want this here, I want that there, especially when it comes to like talent. And when you do documentary films, a lot of it's just like run and gun, finding the best angle as quickly as possible, because you don't want to miss something live, because it's just completely different if you try to like block it out after the fact. You're like, hey, pick that up. Then you're like, this? It's like, oh, that doesn't look nearly as cool as when you were inspecting it earlier, you know? It's just so much more natural. But it's like, okay, so if you don't have a crew, it's like, where do you start, right? If you want to make content like we do and you don't have a crew and you're a one-man band, you can do it. Much more difficult, but it can be done, right?
It can totally be done.
It can totally be done.
Paragraphic was built as a, if everything else fails, if everyone goes their own way, I can still do this myself. It will be a lesser version. Some of them I've done completely by myself. They are harder to do.
Yes.
They are not as well rounded as some of the ones where it's like, you know, multiple shooters. But the fundamental, the core is something that any individual could do.
Right.
Interviews, scenes, B-roll, editing. It's kind of like, what's the best thing one person could do? And then how much better does it get when you add two people?
Oh yeah, I mean,
three people?
it just becomes more efficient at that point. Like, it's not that it can't be done, it's more efficient. What I was saying was, if you yourself want to be like a successful independent content creator, like a lot of what you see now are just influencers, because that's the easiest content to make. I'm going to get a tripod, I'm going to put a camera facing myself, and I'm just going to talk.
Yep.
Because usually, you know, you can get a ton of content like that, especially if you already know something, right? If you're, you know, if you have a lot of knowledge about a specific, you know, topic, great. You can all of a sudden become like a guru of whatever, you know, but at the same time, it's like, is that the kind of content that you want to make? Like, I'm really good at lighting an interview, but am I going to put a camera in front of me, light me, and then talk about camera stuff all day? I could, but one, market's really saturated, right? So instead, I like what we're doing, which is we're creating content that we want to create, that I want to see, right, in our unique way. And then if people want to know about how we shot that, we can talk about it on a podcast, on our own, right, podcast. But it's much more relevant. So it's not just somebody talking about, you know, a 3-point lighting setup, right? Where we're over here like, why would you ever do a 3-point lighting setup? Like, ew, gross. Like, what are you doing? Like one key light, you know, one edge, you know, fill, bounce board, if anything.
Well, that was my personal YouTube channel. So my first experience with YouTube was me doing it myself to prove a point at the time. Someone was telling me about how they were, you know, some guru about on YouTube. And I was like, do you even have a YouTube channel? It's like, I could probably do that. So I did it, and it was, I think, you know, my YouTube channel's up to 10,000 subscribers. Yeah. And there's videos that it was all based off of like news, daily stuff, live streams, but talking about cameras, talking about the film industry, talking about video production. And
especially if you're okay with being on camera, which you are, comfortable, it's great.
And you can go that route and do the trending stuff like, hey, a new GoPro just came out. Let's talk about it. Canon just made this new camera. Let's talk about it. Hey, Sony's got this new camera. Let's talk about it. Hey, here's a tutorial for how to edit something, or here's a tutorial for how to light something. But the thing is that, like, you find yourself in a space where everyone's just doing the same thing.
Everyone does the same thing.
Hey, DJI has a new drone, and there's like 100 other videos all talking about the same drone. And so it's just a race to the bottom in terms of who can get it out the fastest. Still high quality, right? A lot of those reviews do need to be in depth. Right, I'll still watch, you know, updates and stuff, but you're talking to a limited audience of people who are just into that one thing, and your goal is to make as much as content as possible. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're only doing it for yourself. Like, you're buying a light to light yourself. You're buying a camera to film yourself, instead of being like, didn't I go to film school to like make films and tell stories? And now I'm just talking about like equipment. That here's how to do it, and the people you're talking to are buying that equipment so they can just do the same videos. Just talk about it. An unboxing video. It's this giant circle of everyone just, this is the best light, and it's like, what have you used it for? I'm using it right now.
Right.
And we're doing that right now. But this is like
their dog in their backyard.
Yeah.
Which, nothing to say
trees
about
and
people
bushes.
who do that, which is great, because I've needed that content more times than you would ever believe. But it's unfortunate when everybody has that same video, right? Yep. It's like you're all in this space and you're all making the same video, just talking about a spec sheet. Like, that's it. That's all you're gonna do. It's like, dude, show me something cool. Like,
show me a music video. Show me a short film. Show me a documentary.
Shot of your backyard.
Yeah.
unless you had this epic story to tell me about your backyard and that was, one piece of footage. But that's also very that's how I view it, right? I guess we view it that way.
Right. There's so many filmmakers, video production professionals on YouTube. The content they make is their tutorials, is their behind the scenes. And then you're like, but what's your main scenes? What's your what's the thing you're actually making? Oh, like I don't have time for that. I'm too busy being a YouTuber.
Because that's the other thing. You can't show what you've been working on. So that's the other thing. So it's like, yeah. I do commercials all the time. Really? Let me see. I can't do it. NDAs, you know how they go. Whatever it is. It's like, oh, so have you done anything? If a tree falls in the forest, no one's around. Like, are you a cinematographer? Oh, okay.
So I got kind of burnt out on that of just doing everything for myself. And it's like, it is a path. Like you can be successful doing that, but it's not really fulfilling. Because at the end of the day, you feel like you're just doing the checkbox of like, oh, this news announcement came out. I better make a video. Otherwise, like, I'm not going to make enough money, this month or whatever. Instead of saying, I'm going to make a catalog, a portfolio of content that people can go back to for years to come and enjoy the stories that are being told. And it just makes sense that we both love documentaries, except I didn't want to do documentaries about things people knew about already. I wanted to go do them about the people no one knew about.
Right.
I've never heard of this person. Like the biggest one, aquaponics, right? It's just a dude's backyard in Tucson, and it's up to almost 9 million views.
Right.
And people would
perfect example, by the way, of a drone shot of a backyard when it's used in context, and it's just like, yes, this is great. This is fantastic footage of a backyard. Yes,
that's what it's for. But it's a story that people would not have seen. He didn't pay me to make that video. There was no financial incentive to do it other than this could be a cool story. And it turns out it was, and people loved it. But that would not exist if it was up to Coca-Cola or Walmart or McDonald's or anyone who's got deep pockets, because it would be a video about Walmart or Coca-Cola or McDonald's. And you're like, well, I don't need to know about these people. I know these brands already. I want to know the stories about the people who are the garage bakers, the mushroom farmer in downtown Phoenix, the craft brewery I've never heard of, the people who make camper vans, that you've never heard of. They were on Shark Tank one time. You're like, oh wow, that's a cool company. There's so many of those stories, and everything we've done has been in Arizona. We're not an Arizona only channel, but everything has just been in our own backyard. You don't have to go far to find these stories. I bet there's people in Kentucky, in Iowa, in Maine, in New Hampshire. There are these stories everywhere, and no one knows about them because there's no platform incentivizes it. And
there's especially with a lot of the people that we cover, like you kind of hit on it earlier, but so no one paid us, to do these videos right in the beginning because, one, it's like, why would they even think about doing that? Because most people,
it's not worth it. Yeah.
It's not worth it. Right. It's like most people that we've done videos with, a lot of them are small business owners, but like a very small business, right? Or they're just getting off the ground or whatever it is. And a lot of times they're like, you want to feature me? What? And they're, so excited.
How much is it? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's that thing of like, it's not even in their, checklist of things that they need to get done, have a paragraphic video, documentary about me. Like I just started this business, right? But interestingly enough, the videos that we have done a paragraphic video, at least 4 companies that I know of have the paragraphic video as their like homepage explainer about us video. Because what would make a better video than a 20-minute documentary about
that's actual content,
the person,
it's
the
not
business,
a commercial,
why, like all the questions that you would have like on a FAQ page, but all in one video that's high quality, right? That automatically, talked about perceived value, but it's like, oh, you were featured on this channel that has all these views. All right, like now I'm in. Like now I trust you, right? It's like if these guys trust you, why not, right? I'm sure I'm gonna buy your product. So I don't know. It's very interesting how like the videos we do, it's like for fun, and then you see the impact that it has on these businesses like a year later, 2 years later, and you're like, wow, like you've come a long way. And then obviously they look at us and they're like, wow, you guys have come a long way. It's like, yeah, we've all come a long way.
But still not doing it full time. I feel like that's probably a misconception a lot of people would have, that, oh, we must just do this and make all the money. And it's like, nope. We got to like scrap together.
I mean, is it impressive? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for noticing that it looks like we're making a shitload of money, which is great. Thank you for saying
it looks like it from the outside, but it's frustrating. I mean, even so, the aquaponics video went viral basically overnight. The very next video that we published after that one, do you remember which one it was?
Not off the top of my head.
It was the cattle feedlot. Okay.
Okay.
But we just got, I don't know, some influx of like, I don't know, 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Next video, one of like the worst performing ones we've done. And it's that nature of like, man, like, yes, I understand that YouTube thinks we're an aquaponics channel. It just wants us to make aquaponics content or mushroom content or anything that's done well. Yeah, we could just go do more of that. But then then we're just trapped. Then we're playing by the same rules. Yeah. I want to go do any story that's cool, that's worth covering. Let's go do that. And it's really unfortunate because you've seen, right, that we go look and we look at the analytics. Yeah. You can see how much YouTube recommends a video and how many impressions you get, which is basically like, did they show the thumbnail to somebody? Right, yeah. And our videos won't even get our subscriber count, 250,000 impressions. Yep. If a video does not like take off right away, it'll get 60,000 impressions. Yeah. It's like, so we've got 250,000 people who've subscribed to the channel and you're only going to show it to 60,000.
And it's that thing where YouTube, they keep adding features where they're like, oh, your subscribers aren't seeing your content. Well, we've added a notification bell now. It's like, well, that's what the subscribe button was supposed to be. Well, what are you talking about? It's like,
and then the idea is like, well, they're just not interested. It's like, how do you know you didn't even show it?
Right, exactly.
There's two. So like, let's say, yeah. So we're up to, let's say it was 250,000 subscribers and we get 50,000 impressions on a video. Okay. 200,000 people who've said, we like this content, don't even know the new thing exists because YouTube's like, it's not good enough to show them. Yet, meanwhile, you look at the comments, you look at the likes. This is great content. Love it. Keep it up. Can't wait for the next one.
Well, you mentioned likes. That's where YouTube is a little bit shady, right? Because it's like, oh, well, people must not have liked it. It's like, well, how do I know? You took away the dislike button. It's like
on the back end, we can see it.
On the back end, we can see
and it's
our
99% liked.
Right. So for YouTube to say, because they do in general, like that's what it is. Like everyone acknowledges that it's like, oh, well, YouTube's algorithm saw that people weren't interested, therefore they're not going to show it. I have proof that everyone enjoys it. 100% almost, you know? It's like, how many dislikes do we ever get?
Oh, very, very few.
One?
Very
like,
few, yeah.
If you're going to dislike one of our videos, you just must not like us. Because it's like, it's about the person, right? Every video is about one new individual, and everyone has a great story. So like, if you're not going to like it, you just must be a hateful person. Because like, why would you not like any of our content?
The most disliked one is the cryptocurrency one, just
right,
because
and that's
people
based
are
on
like,
cryptocurrency.
Yeah,
and not even that dude. That guy isn't even a miner of cryptocurrency himself. He just has a farm,
a hosting site.
He just hosts, for right. It's like he isn't like oh, you should buy this coin. No, it's like it's a business where he allows other people to operate, but.
Yeah, you want to put your miner here,
right? And it's a fascinating video because you learn how that
I've never seen that before.
Right? It's like that exists here. How? Right? Like, how does this work? It's like I'm interested already.
Yeah,
it's go watch that video again.
So we've talked about we like the show how it's made, right? And they could show you how anything's made. Here's how plastic furniture is made. Here's how rubber bands are made. Here's how duct tape is made. You never watch it and go like, well, I hate this video because like I don't like that product.
I hate rubber bands.
Yeah, boo. Yeah, you just go and you watch it and like, oh,
you're
interesting.
Just fascinated. Yeah.
And so it's funny that people in the modern era have this new like perception of if you made a video about it, you're somehow saying like this is like the only way to do something, right? Because even the aquaponics one, people will say like, oh, tilapia, ooh, get a better fish.
He mentions it,
and he says he's like, this is what works for me. I'm trying to change the reputation of them, but like you literally could do aquaponics with whatever fish you want, and it does not matter.
Right.
But people still get the sense that like, oh, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And there is no right way to do things because it matters depending on where you're at, the location, the circumstance. And so we're just shining a light, just saying, here's how this person is doing their thing. And
this
people go
person
like,
exists. Check it out.
Like, growing vegetables in the desert. Like, that's stupid. It's like, so do you want them shipped in from China? Like, where do you want the vegetables to come from? Unless they're grown locally, and people have all these arguments over water rights and this and that. But it's just funny that it's like, we're just saying, this is how it's done. Look at that. Isn't it neat? And they're going, well, that's wrong.
People have their opinions and they're entitled to them, of course.
All I want to do is encourage people. It's like, okay, if you don't like this way, you should go do it the right way. And that's what I wish more people would do is say like, hey, well, if they looked at our content and they say these documentaries suck, I could do it better. Great, go do it.
Do
Please
it.
do
Yeah,
it.
please.
You know, oh, this farm sucks. I could, they should be doing it this way. Great, you should.
Or
go do
why
it.
are you covering this farm? You should cover this farm. It's like, well, that's
You can go cover
in
them.
Maine.
Yeah, you
Also,
go cover them.
you're in Maine. You should go do that.
So that I just want to inspire more. I feel like we're having that effect. Inspire more positivity, more productivity. Don't just consume. Think about, okay, what could you make? Could it be better? Could it be something you grow? Could it be something you bake? Maybe it's content. Maybe it's a business. Whatever it is, but just infect the world with that type of positivity and that level of productivity, because it is possible. Like, we do it in our spare time. So there's really no excuse. I feel like for other people who are like, I don't have time. Like, I have kids, I'm married, like I've got a job, and we do this for fun, basically for free. Hopefully not forever, right? We want to like buy Boca, sign up to Multitude, check out the Amazon storefront, all those things, right? The ways to monetize, because YouTube isn't enough. But I want to inspire other people to do the same kind of thing. And not just in the content, just with the businesses we're covering. Start a camper van company, start a mushroom farm, start whatever cool thing it is, because the world needs more of that and less of the like influencers, like, hey, like look at me buying Amazon products.
Well,
and then there's like a million of those.
It's and especially when it comes to like an individual product, when everyone is sponsored by the same product, it's like, okay, yeah, you can, or you can make a partnership with a brand new company and be like, no, this is my title sponsor, this brand new company. And then it can also be a partnership, right, between the two people. Like, hey, I'm going to create content and be sponsored by you. Do you want to team up? We can both, rise together, kind of thing. So it's, I don't know, it's a very unique way, especially Multitude, very unique opportunity for people to like start creating content, high quality content, get paid for it, right? But also just like never losing that, I don't know, ambition to create good quality content, because now at least there's an option, it's like, all right, let me test this out. Let me see if I can't get paid by making good quality content. And
it's taken 3 years to get to this point, which is still really, I feel like in a lot of ways, just the beginning.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I feel like just yesterday we shot like the first paragraphic video, but then you realize like, man, we've made how many? Like 40 plus?
Yeah, almost 40.
Jeez.
Which is, I think, impressive, and I don't regret a single one. I love looking back at them because unlike client work or unlike other projects where you have all the excuses or the reasons it failed or, this, that, or the other, I look at our content and I go like, I'm so glad we made every single one of these. Like, they all have value in their own way. And it's just something you can be proud of.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's not really common anymore.
No.
Because when you're following the trends, when you're following the news, when you're doing just what YouTube tells you to do, well, when it fails, then someone asks you, why'd you do that? Why'd you do a taste test video? Yeah. And you're like, well, that's like what was trending at the time, but it didn't get any views. So why did I do it? Yeah, I don't know why you did it,
It's like a time capsule, if anything. It's like, great. Like, that's what you did. That's interesting. Versus what we do, it's like you can go back and watch any one of the videos and be like, wow, I learned something today. They're that. Evergreen. It's just information, quality information. But I don't know. Like you said, I'm glad that we both have the similar interests so that we can team up, because again, it makes it much more efficient
and more fun.
Oh yeah, I mean,
way more fun.
Talk to friends the whole time, right? And then every now and then we'll have other friends, help us out, especially when it comes to like shooting behind the scenes. So if you're ever wondering who's operating those cameras, clearly not us, but any one of our friends who want to take a weird trip down paragraphic lane, because we're always covering like something unique, right? It's like we went to go do a paramotor video, and like our friend that went with us, they're like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. It's like, well, yeah, right. I
didn't even know this was the thing.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then you learn about it, and then you don't have to be licensed. Excuse me, what? You can just do this anywhere? Like, well, not anywhere, but for the most part, pretty free reign. But I don't know. It's I like doing this stuff, man.
Yeah, and I want to do more of it.
Finally a thing. Look at this.
Finally a thing.
It's looking good.
Yeah, it took some time, but making it all happen and pushing forward so that we can find a way to make it a more consistent thing for the people who like to watch the content. YouTube is not enough. You can't rely on going viral every time. It'd be great if you could, if there was a lever I could pull that ensured every video got like 1 million views. Yeah, that's a totally sustainable business. But the problem is the algorithm is so hit or miss, especially when you're making the type of content we're making, where it's broad coverage areas, right? It's not just aquaponics with just the same person in the same environment every time. That would get kind of repetitive, kind of stale. I want to keep it, you know, like the first video we ever did was on worms. And I think when we showed it to people and they're like, oh, so this is like a worm channel?
Worm channel? Yeah.
It's like, no.
Because it's that preconceived like notion of like, if you're starting a channel, what's your channel going to be
What's
about?
it about? Yeah.
What's it about? It's like, well, it's documentaries.
Documentaries.
Oh, okay, like about what though? Like about anything. Worms? It's about worms. It's like, no, it's the first one, but like
First
no.
one. So making more content more frequently is my number one goal for this year, figuring out a way to make that financially stable and successful. So yes, YouTube helps a little bit, but it is Patreon, signing up there. It is things like Boca, where it's, you know, that was the other thing I wanted to do. And I'm thinking about, okay, how do we make this financially viable? I can't ask everyone to support us on Patreon. Some people just don't want to. They're like, oh, you should give your content away for free. And it's like, well, yeah, we do for the most part, but like, if you do want to support us, go to Patreon and you get this exclusive content here. But for the people that don't want to do that, okay, you can. Do you like lion's mane? Do you like reishi mushrooms? Do you like smoothie greens? Do you like energy supplements? Right? Do you like that kind of stuff? Okay, well, you can buy it from us, and that helps us. Right. You get the same product you would get otherwise, but you're helping someone you actually care about versus some random company on Amazon. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, well, great. What do you like? You like stuff on Amazon? Go check out the storefront. You can buy anything on Amazon from our storefront and go there. Oh, you don't shop on Amazon? You don't like any of that? You just want to be a creator like us? Great. Sign up for Multitude and you can make content and put it there. I wanted to create avenues and paths that every one of them is tied to finances and financial success, but there are different avenues for different people who want to engage in kind of a different way. Some people love Patreon. Some people hate it. Some people shop on Amazon. Other people boycott Amazon. Right. Some people love supplements. Some people are like, supplements are a scam. I actually really like the lion's mane capsules and the reishi ones. I've talked to you about that. Quite a bit about how like I'm like a believer now.
I mean, learning how much we learned just doing like the mushroom documentary. And then it's like just, you know, every now and then you see like news stories about different companies.
Benefits
like,
of mushrooms.
Going public, you know, especially, well, so many people are trying to grow mushrooms because of so many different benefits you can get from the different, you know, strains.
Right. Which I don't really like the flavor of mushrooms, but I like the benefits.
Ooh, that's the thing. It's like, well, with a lot of supplements, I feel it's kind of the deal, right? It's like, oh, it tastes gross. It's like, well, would you like protein or not? You know.
Well, these you don't even taste, right? You just swallow them.
Well, those, because they're in pill form.
And those I take every day, and they actually, I feel like, do make a big difference. So, yeah, just trying to create all those avenues for revenue so that we can do what we love, and I'll open up doors for other people to do what they love, because I'm kind of sick of existing in the world that we've been in for the last 10 years where YouTube dominates and forces every type of content to be more or less the same. Advertiser friendly, brand safe, stay in these lanes, make content every day, do the news, do the politics, do the React stuff, talk about the latest movie that just came out, and it's just the cycle, the churn. And you have some variations between different content creators and their individual opinions, but the content itself is very different than when YouTube first started, where it was creative music videos or creative short films or a little sketch comedy.
And it was based on ratings of like actual 5-star quality versus, because it was likes and then ratings, right? So it's like high rated videos were usually quality.
I think they shifted. It used to be the star rating.
There used to be like two kinds of ways that you could filter it, because I remember it was like you could search by like rating and then you could search by like another thing, but usually I think rating was like, oh, that's like the quality. Like I'm looking for quality here, not just a cat video or whatever it is.
But cat videos are great too. You know, it's like
maybe that's what it was.
Making
it was
room
views versus
for everyone to make what they want to make instead of operating through this like filtered algorithmic lens where yes, we've had videos that kind of burst through that and are successful, but then the follow-up one, it's like, nope, deranked, demonetized, delisted, and you're like, okay, so how am I have to play by the YouTube rules? Well, that's stupid. Let's go start our own game.
Yep.
So that's what I'm going to do this year.
Cool.
And hopefully everyone else comes along for the ride. And then I get to stop the podcast once it reconnects. Let's see what happens. I can walk over there.
Hopefully if it's still recording, that'd be great.
It is.
Oh, nice.
So let's see.
How long has that been?
I don't know. We'll have to check it out.